In my last communication with you, I spoke about spiritual awakening and sometimes how hard it is to navigate life after awakening. And that video got a lot of responses. So I thought I'll make another one, which will be a continuation, where I would like to clarify few things about this term spiritual awakening, which is quite misunderstood. So first of all, spiritual awakening does not happen to a person. Spiritual awakening, in my concept, is an impersonal understanding. This impersonal understanding causes the mind to glimpse its own illusory nature. Now, this is very hard to conceptualize, but the mind sees that it does not exist. And that seeing, that realization is not a personal realization. It is an impersonal realization. Having glimpsed truth, it panics. It panics because it is unable to move. Because before the glimpse, the mind is usually caught up in the material world. This is right, that is wrong. I should live this way, I should live that way. My life should be perfect. It is all generally about me, me, me. So when there is a glimpse into reality, there is a dent in the structure of this personality that I identify as me. Now this dent causes a fracture in the ego mind system. And that fracture causes a lot of pain. It causes a lot of disturbance. Why? Because I have invested in the belief my whole life that I need to be perfect in order to be happy in life, that I need to achieve perfection, that I need to be this way, I need to be kind, I need to be good, I need to be nice, I need to do well in my life, in my domestic life, family life, work life, spiritual life, whatever we want to call it. I need to do well, I need to excel in all of that. That's the predominant belief. And, we constantly remind ourselves that if we don't do enough, then we will not be good enough. And that illusion, when it breaks, is going to be painful. Somehow, people mistake the idea of awakening to be a permanent state of spiritual bliss. There is no permanent state in my experience. And then sometimes I get comments where people say that you haven't experienced it. One day you're going to experience the ultimate bliss and it'll be this and that. And I ask them, is it your lived experience or are you just repeating what you've heard? There's no problem with repeating what you've heard because I also repeat what I have heard. But are you at peace? That's most important. That's the relevant question. Are you deep down at peace or are you still living a conflicted life? Are you still trying to search happiness? Are you still trying to find that perfect peace or bliss, universal bliss, which is causing you more and more suffering? If that is happening, then you need to question this whole idea of seeking. So spiritual awakening, according to my concept, is an impersonal understanding that things are not rigid, they are empty. The happiness that you seek in relationships or material things, they come attached with unhappiness. It's that realization. So, when you try to grab hold of the pleasures of life. You know, a drink here, a party there, this, that, achievement, whatever it is that you do, a vacation here, or buying some expensive stuff, whatever it may be, there's nothing right or wrong about this. You can do all of this. But know that it comes attached with unhappiness. So awakening causes conflict first. And that is what happened to Buddha. Buddha did not get his awakening under the Bodhi tree. That is a misunderstanding. Buddha did not awaken under the Bodhi tree. Buddha was awakened by the 4 sights that he saw. The sight of an old man, the sight of a corpse, the sight of a holy man, and the sight of a sick man. When he saw that human life is fragile, it is full of pain and suffering, human body is fragile, there was a dent in his personality structure, which was earlier formed by people around him who, he was born in a rich family, in a wealthy family, in a powerful family. So they had put up all this facade around him. And he believed that he was special. And then the awakening happened. That broke that entire personality structure, that broke the belief that he was special. In fact, spiritual awakening does not make you special. It gets rid of the specialness. It breaks the specialness. And that's what hurts. That there is no you. There is no you that is trying to attain anything. What you have is here and now. But the mind, habituated, keeps moving. It keeps trying to find more and more. Earlier it was a search for material wellness. Now it becomes the same pattern is followed in the spiritual life, and it continues as seeking for more spiritual wellness. There's nothing right or wrong about this. It just happens. And that is why people experience dark night of the soul. So awakening does not mean that the permanent bliss sets in, that somehow the person becomes calm and cool and composed all of a sudden. The person more or less remains the same even after awakening. It's just that the personality structure having broken, there is complete acceptance of all aspects, all facets of one's personality. So even after awakening, the jealousy, the anger, the malice, the spite, all of these things may still arise. The sages, even after their awakening, got angry, got upset. How many spiritual teachers do you see that do not get upset at all? Well, they do get upset. And if they are not getting upset, then they're putting up a very good show. Because it is not possible to select emotions. Human conditioning is designed in this way. The human organism is designed in this way that all emotions will be experienced. But we think that somehow spiritual awakening is a special event that will get rid of some emotions like depression, anxiety, restlessness, and will just make us loving, caring, kind, compassionate, peaceful. But that does not happen. It is not a one-sided thing. Even after awakening, the biological organism experiences all emotions. The only thing that changes is that having glimpsed that it is all empty, even the emotions that are being experienced, they do not have rigidity, solidity. One does not chase. One does not try to fight their emotions, but they start accepting themselves for who they are more and more. So if anger or jealousy, let's say, arises in a person where the personality structure is breaking down, of course it is going to be painful. And that can last for years, even for decades in some cases. But they are not going to fight their conditioning. They are not going to blame themselves or shame themselves for having that conditioning. Let's say I had an unpleasant interaction with somebody and I said some nasty things to them. It happened in the moment. Now I can certainly apologize to the person knowing that I have hurt them. But deep down, there is this understanding that when that action happened of the perceived me trying to hurt another person, perceived another person, there were forces that were beyond my control acting on me at that given moment. All of my conditioning from childhood, including my genetics, including all my dispositions, were acting at that point to create that reaction. So why should I ever live in constant guilt and shame? What that feeling of guilt and shame perpetuated in time is going to do for me? Nothing at all. So awakening actually intensifies the seeking. It gives direction to the seeking. The seeking happens even before awakening. But awakening shapes the seeking and gives it a direction. And seeking by nature is painful, is suffering. But seeking happens. There is an impersonal process that happens. Eventually, the realization dawns that this notion of separation, that I am separate from the rest, this begins to dissolve slowly and steadily. The impersonal understanding is that the consciousness that animates all reality is same in all. It is not that your consciousness is separate from mine. Your mind is definitely separate from mine. I cannot know what you are thinking at this given point in the moment, but I know that the ability to think is common between us. There is an unspoken, unseen beingness between you and me. That is the common factor. So, knowing that beingness starts bringing the mind to rest. So, but still everything is experienced in a given moment. It is not like you will never experience pain after spiritual awakening. If that is happening with you, then there is some delusion there. Because life is not designed in that way. In fact, it is said that if you want to suffer, then suffer like a Buddha. Buddha suffers with complete acceptance, not putting up resistance to anything. What Buddha received under the Bodhi tree was an insight, not awakening. Because after his spiritual awakening, where he saw the four sights, and then he continued on this journey and trained under different masters, and then finally came to this realization that there has to be a middle ground, that extreme luxury or extreme penance or extreme asceticism is not going to help. So he found his middle ground. That was an insight based on personal experience. And that is what Ramesh Balsekar called deliverance, that happens after spiritual awakening. And Dark Night of the Soul is a process of deliverance. Because in the Dark Night of the Soul, the person is sometimes feeling confusion and complete restlessness. Other times they feel extreme bliss and clarity. So they are experiencing this roller coaster ride of pleasure and pain, confusion and clarity, constantly, which is troubling, which is causing suffering. But at some point, the confusion begins to dissolve. And there is a normalization of the ego, which is peace, simply peace. And that peace becomes one's anchor, and that is what Ramesh Balsekar called deliverance. But it is not to be thought of in an absolute terms. Deliverance does not mean that the person will never get unhappy or that suffering will never happen. Because even Ramesh admitted that life is a simple imprisonment. The master's job here is not to free you from the sentence. Master cannot free you from the sentence. You have to serve the life imprisonment sentence, that is planet Earth. But what the masters can do is point you to your own true nature, where understanding can actually reduce that or stop that life sentence from becoming into a rigorous life imprisonment, where it can stop simple imprisonment from converting into a rigorous imprisonment. That's all. So let's be a little more practical here. Life on planet Earth is suffering. It is like a simple imprisonment. It has been said in the scriptures, and that has been a personal experience too. But the simple imprisonment does not have to become a rigorous imprisonment of pure psychological hell. It does not have to become that. So rather than allowing the mind wandering to go here and there, the mind inverts on itself and sees that its whole existence is an illusion. Its whole belief that it is the doer of action with personal will is an illusion. And that is just a concept which brings peace. So, take the concept and see how it resonates with your life experience. If it does, then wonderful. If it doesn't, then throw it away. I'm not saying that whatever I'm saying is the truth. Whatever I'm saying is a concept. Whatever any master has said or any scripture has said is a concept. The concept has to be realized through personal experience. I have not known any person who has not experienced pain and suffering after spiritual awakening. But the truth pulls itself, the truth pulls you to itself, and that pull is so strong that even with all the pain and suffering, one humbly surrenders to that pull. You may be surprised how people just leave comfortable life and move towards that in search of the truth. Gautam Buddha is the classic example. The moment awakening happened, in his case, there was a pull to know the truth, and he left all luxuries and moved towards the pathless path. And he got an insight, a very powerful insight, which he shared with the world. And that is why that man is celebrated today. Other than that, the word enlightenment does not mean anything for me. The word permanent bliss or permanent state does not mean anything for me, because I don't think anything is permanent on this plane. Impermanence is the only permanence. So when one accepts duality, accepting duality means that when one sees that happiness comes attached with unhappiness, and that link cannot be broken. That brings peace of mind. Because mind, now having known that it is not the doer with a separate will, with a personal volition, it suspends movement and it surrenders. Ramesh Balsekar would put it like this, that when the mind realizes that if I am not the doer of my actions, then who is this me? That is the final question. Who is this me? So awakening is a dent in the personality structure. So it is bound to be painful. Trying to avoid that pain creates more pain. Most people, their suffering continues because they're constantly trying to find solutions, methods, practices, tricks and tips to soothe themselves, to relieve themselves, but that continues the suffering even more and more. What drops the suffering is when the seeking ends, when it is known that there is no seeker, that the seeker, the seeking and the sought are one. And nothing truly ever happens. It is all impersonal, happening to no one. It is very difficult for mind to conceptualize this. It has to be the understanding of the heart.